Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome back to Awakened Voices with Awakened Pathways. I'm Nancy, and today we are here with Robin Nicole.
Oh,
Robin, who are you and where are you from?
who am I? Oh God, who am I? Um, I am a lot of things. I didn't know you were going to ask me that question. Um,
Well, just introduce yourself.
I am a multidimensional being of light and the creator of my own reality. No, um,
Excellent.
I am actually, if I am an artist and I'm an author. And I'm a mystery school founder. And what else did I do? What else am I? Oh, I'm a hypnotist through Nancy. I actually got my certification through Nancy. And so I've been a hypnotist for a couple of years now, haven't I?
2022, I believe.
Yes. And I focus a lot of my hypnosis on regression and progression type of scenario sessions kind of thing. I help clients work through uh, maybe woundings from past lives or even childhood woundings and trauma and things like that to help them kind of work through all of that and be able to kind of find their spark and figure out what it is that they want to do beyond the trauma type thing.
Very good. Well, the reason that we're here is we're talking to people who are part of the Awakened Pathways family and to kind of give a voice to everything that people are going through. Everybody goes through their own journey, everybody has their own perception, but maybe we might have different people going through something that's the same thing. So I ask the same question when we start. What has your spiritual journey looked like up to this point? Where have you been? How have you done this?
Okay, so I kind of really thought a lot about this when I was coming on, and we were talking last week when we decided to do this. And I really feel like I've been in an awakening my whole life, okay? But noticing and growing from experiences along the way, but like there was kind of like some different points in my life that were kind of like rupture points where I was working through wounds and things like that. And my main rupture was the moment that shifted everything. And it came after my separation from my ex. Before that, I experienced wounds around feeling powerlessness and unseen. I lived with coercion and control in relationships, a sense of not being enough, having to suppress my creativity, navigating manipulation, and struggling to assert my own needs. These experiences left me hypervigilant, cautious with trust, and disconnected from my own voice. And through my awakening journey, I realized something life changing, that I am the creator of my own reality. My power doesn't come from others controlling me or saving me. It comes from honoring myself, standing in my truth, and taking responsibility for my own care. That shift has transformed the way I live, love, and show up in the world. My creative practice, spiritual tools, and focus on self trust have become the foundation of reclaiming my agency, healing my deepest wounds, and building a life where I'm safe, seen, and empowered. So
That's
that's where
beautiful.
I'm at.
That's absolutely beautiful. So during all of this, you started out in New York
Mhm.
and ended up forming this beautiful life that you have created. Where?
In Ireland. So
Yeah.
yes, well, I'll tell you, I was okay. So I'll tell people where I was born and where I grew up and all that. So I was born in Cortland, New York, up in near Syracuse. I don't know. I know, Nancy, you're from up New York direction too, aren't you?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's kind of northern New York. It's
Yeah,
not
it
the
wouldn't be
city.
near New York City. It's kind of more towards Syracuse, Watertown, that kind of vicinity of the state. And I had a pretty happy childhood for the most part, but I did grow up with a controlling mother, like a very controlling, and our my childhood was very restrictive. I learned early on at a very early age that in order to, I guess, survive, that I needed to kind of do what she wanted. Like I had to, in order to cope, I guess. Does that make any sense? Like in order to
It does
like
make sense.
not get in trouble or whatever, I kind of like had to. I was the good girl. I was always the good girl. I never really did anything wrong because I kind of watched my brothers and I watched kind of different things that they did, and then I knew like what I needed to do to kind of be safe. And then I ended up marrying a fella that was from Ireland, and it ended up bringing me along. A long story happened, and then I ended up here in Ireland when our son was 4 years old. It was right around during the time of the September 11th, because I remember our house was for sale during the September
Hmm.
11th thing when that happened. And then I'd say like the February after that happened, we moved to Ireland. So it was February 2003. And I've been in Ireland ever since. I'm living in what you would call Killarney, which is kind of one of the top places for tourists. That's like where everybody comes. And there is a lot of, how do I say this? The energy is it's different here. It's different from where I grew up. It's I think it's the energy has actually from where I'm living has really helped to awaken my whole being
So
and
the
to bring me
experience
where I came.
of moving to Ireland and being in Ireland and creating this world that you're living in Ireland has awakened you to be in that deeper space.
Yeah, I really believe that it has, because like things started shifting as soon as I came over here. I mean, like I had gone through, like there was a lot of, what do I want to call it? Coercion, a lot of um
It doesn't need a name.
things that happened in my marriage. Okay, we're not going to put all
It
of what
doesn't need
happened.
names.
And because of those things, I didn't really start seeing that this was happening really until I came to Ireland, if that makes any sense. And I was reading the Neil Donald Walsh books, believe it or not, the Conversations with
Hmm.
God.
Yeah.
And that really was, I'm now that I'm thinking about it, that was one of the biggest moments for me. Was, I don't know, did you ever read those books, Nancy?
I haven't. No.
No. Well,
I know a lot of people who have, and we've talked about them and all, but I haven't sat down and actually read them.
okay. Well, in my aspect, I had a lot of, like religious kind of like trying to figure out where did I belong in in religion. I grew up as a little Methodist girl. Then, in order to get married to the ex, he forced me into becoming Catholic. And I just kind of like, every time I was put into these religious things, everything kind of like I felt like I was put into this box of this dogma and this doctrine, and nothing ever like fit for me. So there was always kind of like this kind of thing happening where I was always questioning religion and questioning the church, and questioning like why was I supposed to do all these things? Like, why are there like there's these rules and then and but it's not written in the Bible, but it's the church makes the rule kind of thing, like
Right.
all that would happen. And then I started reading the conversations with God, and that kind of like really opened up a lot. And it started making me think differently about my religion and about that kind of part of my life. And I had been in this relationship with this man that I wouldn't leave because of like I felt like maybe I felt like I'll do whatever you want just to kind of
Keep the peace.
keep the peace. I'll do whatever you want to stay together. I mean, the man used to put me on weighing scales. I had to be like a certain weight, and if I wasn't, then, like it was just insane what I had to do to make this person happy. And it's like no matter what I was doing wasn't making him happy. And even moving to Ireland didn't fix it, because like this was going on when we were in the States. And then I thought, okay, we'll move to Ireland and then everything will be happy. We can start all over again. I'll do whatever you want. I'll just do whatever so to keep this marriage together. And I was listening to, or I was reading the Neil Donald Walsh books, and there was this part in there where he started explaining about we as humans tend to stay in situations and stay with people who don't really want to be in the room with you just because you're afraid to stand alone. Just
Mhm.
because you're afraid to like that you don't think you can live without that person. And at the time, there was like this breaking moment about a year and a half after we moved here. Things happened, and I was like, no, I'm not going to do whatever you want just to keep this marriage happy. And I realized this man doesn't want to be in the room with me, let alone in my life. And so I took that information and I was like, okay, I'm going to carve a new life out for myself. I'm going to just walk away, and I'm in this country that I didn't grow up in. I had no family and no friends and no job and no nothing. And here I was just like trying to figure out how was I going to stand on my own in this new world that I was in. And so I went through this time period of really just kind of finding myself, reclaiming my power. And I explored a lot. I explored a lot of books. Had a lot of books. Every time I needed to stretch my consciousness a little bit more, a book would show up. And or like I was learning how to meditate, and I was doing all kinds, everything I could to try to kind of regulate myself. And I didn't know that's what I was doing at the time. And to try to have my own, like, I guess, agency, my own, like, who am I and what do I stand for? And I started learning that my body was my barometer. It would tell me, like, my body would tell me when I needed to relax or when I needed to take time out, or, like, I learned how to do that, and I started going swimming a lot, and a lot of things happened in the swimming pool where I started learning how to, and in Ireland, which is really kind of awesome. When you go to a swimming pool and you have a membership there, there's always a steam room, a jacuzzi, and a sauna and everything like that. And I started going into the steam room. And the steam, I don't know if you've ever experienced the steam room. Have you
Mhm.
experienced the
Yeah.
steam room so there's always this noise, this like shh,
Shh.
when the steam is
The
coming out,
hiss.
right?
Yeah.
And I was started learning that it was like shh, and I was doing all this meditating and trying to like meditate and stuff like this. Didn't really know if I knew how I was doing it right or whatever. And the sound of the steam would kind of take me away. And then all of a sudden I started imagining that there was that steam sound was like an etheric vacuum cleaner. And I started imagining it going into my crown because I was like learning about my chakras and all this kind of
Mhm.
stuff. And I would bring this in the steam room, I would bring this etheric vacuum cleaner down from like wherever it was coming from. I didn't know at the time. I was thinking probably soul star chakras or someplace up above. I didn't know the name of it or anything. And I bring it down and I mean this is like a woman that did not know anything about any of this stuff. And I started bringing this vacuum cleaner and I started bringing it in. And I had learned about Archangel Michael in one of my books and stuff. And so I was like, okay, Archangel Michael, you need to help me when I'm sucking this stuff out of me, like going into my brain, and is there anything that doesn't belong there? And going in behind my eyes and going all the way through my body with this vacuum cleaner. And I would ask for Archangel Michael to take it and transmute it to the light. So, and then I would get out of I would do my whole body, everything. And then I would go to the swimming pool there was like this cold little kind of whirlpool thing, and I would sit in there and I would just float and I would start to kind of cool down from being in the steam. And I had basically just released anything that no longer served me, had it all sucked out with the vacuum cleaner. And then I would go and I would soak into this water. And as I was doing it, I would then see the colors of the chakra and I would bring them into the right spots. And I would fill up my body with this liquid light of the color of the chakra. And I would go all the way through my body and I would bring this in and I would fill up the spaces that I maybe just sucked out.
Very good.
And so that's how I just naturally learned how to kind of like anchor myself and cope. And
So
I
you
found
did
that
this all intuitively.
I did that's before anything happened, before any kind of like major like thing happened to me or anything. I just intuitively started doing that. And this is like was there was information that was coming from the books and all of that kind of stuff about chakras and angels and like I was learning about all of that stuff, but then I was kind of incorporating it in with that when I was starting to learn how to self-regulate. And I didn't know what I was doing. And I used to say, oh, I'm just doing I'm just doing this because it makes me be able to move forward. Like I can cope, like I can deal with whatever happens. Every time I do that vacuum cleaner thing and I get out of the pool, somehow when shit hits the fan, I'm able to cope.
Okay.
And when I don't do that, then I'm not able to cope. And that's all that's all I knew. I didn't put any kind of like spiritual context to it or anything like that.
Okay. So you used your intuitive nature to create the world that you were living in.
Hmm.
Was
And at
that
the same
easy for you to
time,
do? Did you find it easy to move into that space?
I found it easier and easier. As you realize, I was also coming off from I was in my 30s. Would I be in my 30s at that time? Yeah. I was in my 30s at that time. And I was also coming from 30 years
Mhm.
of giving up my power to make somebody else happy, basically, so that
So
they
you
would
were
keep me
learning
in the
all
room.
about yourself.
What?
You were learning all about yourself.
Yes. So, and at the same time, I had a new relationship that I was in that I had accidentally came upon that I wasn't planning. And I was starting a new relationship while I was doing all of this, and so there was like a period of time, I think it would have been like around 10, maybe was it 10 years? I'm trying to think when how many years this was before 2015. I left the ex in 2000. When was that? 2000, 2005. I finally walked out, and I met my new partner in 2006. So it was very quickly. But I was trying to like regulate. And actually, when I left my ex, we had just moved to Ireland. And so we moved here in 2003. I'd only been here. I knew the relationship was at its doom by 2004. And I knew I was going to walk out, but I still had to make a plan. So in that whole year of 2004 to 2005, when I actually walked out, I I had gone and I started working at a grocery store at nighttime, and I was trying to get everything ready so that I could leave, kind of thing. And so I did meet my new partner only a few months after I left, but there was like a whole year of me trying to get out of there, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes any sense. So I didn't really want to get into this relationship, but it just happened. And I was working as so one of the things that happened with me and my ex was he didn't think that I should go to art school. And so I didn't go to art school. I didn't go to art school because he felt that I ended up putting myself through like 10 years of working in a factory and having my soul sucked out of me, all kinds of things, right? And so when I moved, when right before I we moved here, the plan was that I would take out my 401k money that I made in the factory, and I would use that towards getting my pottery equipment, my ceramic equipment, because I wanted to do my art because I had been in therapy before I moved, and my therapist was kind of like, when was the last time you were happy? And when was that? And it kind of came down to when I had spent a summer in it was called NISA, the Summer School of the Art program, New York State Summer School of the Art program,
Mm-hmm.
and that was in my 10th grade year, and it was before I had met my ex, and I learned um, how to do ceramics, and I was like fell in love with ceramics, and so I wanted to do this. I even though I didn't get to go to art school, I figured I'm never gonna work in a factory again, and I made the deal with the ex that I would take my 401k money and I would buy the equipment and I would start my life as an artist. And so after I left, and when I met my new partner, I had secured a job. I had an art exhibition, and which the art exhibition actually was part of my healing process because I started creating my fairies in the arts. I had this like 20-piece sculpture exhibition that I did. And it actually was that was like the time when I actually moved out of the ex's house, and my parents came and they got to see my exhibition and everything, and there was like a moment in the gallery when my dad and I started crying because I finally was like doing my art. I was finally doing it. And I met this new partner through this exhibition that I was doing. So the guy that owned the gallery brought me into his office and he got me a job working as an artist in this company. I don't know, they don't really have them in the States, but they're like molding companies where like fancy old manor houses and stuff, they have like all of like the urns on the walls, on the ceilings, and the
Mm-hmm.
grapes. You know what I'm talking about? The old Adam style
Right.
things. Well, there I got hired to work on this job where I would help replicate things that went onto the ceilings on the molds. They needed another artist. And so I was like all determined. I'm going to stand on my own 2 feet, and I'm going to show the world that I can do this. I'm in another country. I can live on my own. I can take care of myself, and I'm not going to get into any relationships. God forbid, I'm not going to do that. And I'm going to totally heal, and it's going to be awesome. And I'm just going to be the mom, as I had a 7-year old at that stage, and I'm just going to be mom, and I'm going to just try to make this career for myself as an artist. And they told me that if I wanted the job that I had to work with the artist on staff. And I went into training, and I'm the first day, and I went in, and I actually, through the wall where I'm sitting right now is where I went for my training. And it was that's where I met my partner, Tim, and he was the artist on staff. And it was really funny because he had just broken his knee or his leg or something, and he was in a cast right before I got hired to do this job with him. And he had told all of his family and everybody around here, there's this Canadian girl, because they called me a Canadian girl, even though I was American. There's this Canadian girl. She's going to come take my job. Now I have to train her. And 2 weeks later, we're at his sister's 21st birthday party, and they're all laughing because, and he actually ripped his cast off because to come back to work early. He didn't even go to the doctors. He just cut it off himself, because he was determined that this Canadian girl wasn't going to like take over his job. And now I'm like his partner, his sole
Okay,
partner.
so 20 years later,
Hmm.
you're
Hmm. And we have a son and everything. But like, so during that time, now we'll get back to where I was. During that time of me trying to find myself and the whole thing that I was doing in the swimming pool and the whole like that kind of thing, I was also trying to reclaim this artist part of me. And there was a few years where the both of us were trying to kind of like build our careers in art, and we started trying to build a business through our house. And so there was all of this kind of thing going on in the background when I'm still trying to kind of like learn how to regulate and cleanse my chakras and whatever I was doing, right? And but I had gotten very out of focus and out of balance. I hadn't, there was something was happening like in 2015 that really kind of, this was the next time I had a rupture. So I went from 2006, was it? 2006 to 2015. And I spent all of those years just trying to kind of find myself. I was in some kind of art collective and all kinds of other things that happened, and just trying to kind of figure out my career and being a mom and all the stuff happening. And we had opened our art studio to the public in 2015 in July. And Tim decided to do the business with me, and we were just going to try to like make a go of it. And I had been really busy trying to like help with this, and I wasn't doing my etheric vacuum cleaner things, and I was just kind of not really kind of in balance or whatever. And I had had lots of warnings, but I wasn't listening. And so I think my guides took me out for a reason. And I think that, so what happened was on Christmas Eve of 2015, I had a devastating experience that took me down physically and emotionally. Okay, so I'm going to read this because I wrote it down and I want to make it come out right. Due to the nature of my injury, I was completely unhinged. So I had fallen um, on the ice. I went ice skating, like Christmas Eve. I was like, I had the turkey in the oven. And I said, let's go ice skating. It was really funny because Tim said to me, if you fall down, I'm not going to the hospital tonight with you or whatever. Like, and I was like, I'm a New York girl. I spent my whole life ice skating. I can spin, I can do this, I can do that. But like, I know how to ice skate. Don't tell me how to ice skate and I'll be fine. And he was kind of like, okay. And so I was actually on the ice and there was a man there that didn't really know how to ice skate. And so I was trying to help him. And these ice skates that they have at the ice rinks over here in Ireland are not like the ones in New York. There were like, you know how like I don't know if you ever ice skated. Did you ever ice skate?
I've
No.
seen ice skates. I'm not a good ice skater. I can roller
But
skate,
did
don't
you
ice
ever
skate.
put ice skates on? Did you ever go to
Yes.
the ice rink? Okay. You know how when you put the ice skates on, they have to fit kind of snug and tight.
Hmm.
And you have to tie them up and they
Yeah, so
so
you
that you
keep your
don't
ankles in
wobble.
line.
Yeah, so you don't wobble or whatever. But these ice skates, they didn't do that. And I was wobbling inside of them, like it wasn't, they weren't right. And I was going backwards trying to help this person. And I said, and then I kind of like said, you just go like this. And as I did it, I went, oh, and I started going down and I went to kind of like catch myself. And as I was doing it, I was flailing in the air, trying to like be a graceful fall, but it wasn't a graceful fall. And as I was doing it, I heard this big, huge snap with my arm. I went like this. I heard this freaking snap, like, and then I landed down and I landed down on my wrist and I also like I basically this whole part of my humerus came unhinged. I actually have a scar going all the way down here from when they had to do surgery. But and my wrist was like totally like crushed. They said that I had crushed all the crystals or whatever in there.
Oof.
And so I was pulled off the ice that day. I looked up at Tim. I said, "You're gonna go to the hospital with me. You're gonna follow the ambulance, please." He's like, "Of course." Here we got the turkey in the oven as well. And went to the hospital anyways, and it was really bad. It was like really bad. It wasn't like a normal, like you just broke yourself and they can set it and everything's perfectly fine. The wrist, that was okay. They kind of set the wrist, but then it was the humerus that was the problem. The humerus was kind of like unhinged.
Uh,
So it was kind of like the break was kind of like that because it snapped. You know what I mean? So
oh,
it was like,
oh.
right? And they had me in this sling. I don't know if I can put, they had me in this sling, and then coming down right at my elbow, hanging down from my elbow, was this like weight. I was like, what the heck do you got a weight on my? So they had this like little weight hanging off from my elbow, and they said that I couldn't go backwards because if I did, then it came
Unhinged.
unhinged, right? And I was stuck like in that position. They kept trying to heal it and it kept starting to heal, and then when I went to go start doing physio with it, it kept coming unhinged. So it would start to kind of secure together and then it wouldn't do it. So they were trying not to do surgery, but I ended up having to have surgery, but it wasn't until so this happened on Christmas Eve of 2015, and I had surgery. I think it was like the second Tuesday of June or something like that. And but I had gone through this whole time where I couldn't lay in a bed. So these are months, like months just trying to sleep. I had to sit up straight in the couch and then I would put like teddy bears, my son's teddy bears kind of like this so I could kind of like go like this and get a little bit of sleep. But it just took me down. Like it totally took me down and I couldn't do anything. Like I couldn't do my art and I couldn't do my counter cross stitch. I love doing counter cross stitch. Couldn't do any of that. And the wrist kind of healed kind of quickly, but the it was this part that kept having the problem. And but I was like, my whole arm was kind of like stuck. Like it took me a long time to be able to like put my arm out straight, and I couldn't put my arm up and kind of go like this or anything
Well,
like
you've come
that.
a long way
And
then.
like it took a very, 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 very long time. And that's when everything started happening. So I had all of this time to kind of like think about like what was going on, and like kind of internalize some stuff. I tried doing like this, you know, that stuff with the bone healing with the hertz or
Hmm.
whatever. I had heard that if you did that, put that music on, it could help like,
The bone weaving.
yeah, so I was doing that as much as possible. And then, you know, like I had just gotten, I think Tim had gotten me like a tablet or something like that. And I had was listening to podcasts. And so I had started delving into, there was this Alex Collier. I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
Heard of him? I don't
He's
think I've heard him
associated
though.
with the
I don't think I've listened.
Andromedans. And he would tell stories about how he would be taken on these Andromedan ships and all this kind of stuff. And during that time, when it was like really kind of like during, I had started learning through this Alex Collier. I had listened to a lot of his like podcasts or whatever, and he was telling about how that you could go astrally if you asked before you went to sleep or whatever, that they could help you heal different things or whatever, that they could assist, but you had to ask ask them to help you. And so I didn't know if this was true. So I was just kind of like, hey, Andromedans,
There's nothing else.
Arcturians,
Let's do it.
anything that's out there that can help me, please help me while I'm sleeping, blah, blah, blah. And I just kept doing this all the time, like the whole time I'm healing. And, you know, things were kind of healing. And then I would go to physio, and then it would unhinge and everything. And so finally, I had been doing that, and then after they finally did the last surgery, when they did the surgery, they pinned it together. That's when everything rapidly started healing quickly. And I remember going, I was like, okay, I'm going to ask these Andromedans or whatever they are, Andromedans, Arcturians, whatever they are. I'm going to ask if they'll help me. And I just kind of kept asking. It's like as soon as I came out of surgery, I was like, please help me heal this, you know, all this kind of thing going on, right? And I think I had the surgery like on a Tuesday or something like that. And then they had me come back like the next week to the clinic to have the dressings changed. Like they had the
Mhm.
nurse come. The doctor wasn't coming in. That had the nurse. I know I'm probably am I going too slow?
You're okay. You're okay.
Okay. So they told me. So she's taken off the dressings, and I'll show you guys if I can get my arm up that sleeve. This whole line. Can you kind of see it? It's faded, but it
Yeah,
starts
you
up
can see it.
here
Yep.
and it goes all the way here. Well, when she took off the dressing for that, she was like, when did you have this surgery? And I said, I just had it last week. And she goes, are you, come on now. And I said, no, I just had it last week. And she says, this looks like the healing of a wound, a surgical wound that would have been about 12 weeks ago. And I was like, no, really? Look, I'm serious. I only just had this like last week. She goes, I don't even know if I have to put a dressing on top of this, you know, like she was just kind of like, and she's like, I'm going to get the doctor. And in Ireland, they don't go get the doctor for anything because like the doctors, they only come for the surgery, they walk away, they leave, you never see them again. Okay. She she goes and she gets him. She brings him in. She says, you gotta see this, you gotta see this. And he looks at it and he goes, I did a very good job, didn't I? And I'm thinking to myself, maybe there is something to these
I did that.
Andromedans.
I did that. I
Yeah.
did it.
I'm thinking to
I
myself,
did.
maybe this is working, this like whole thing going into this thing that I had learned about. So this is how I'm saying my awakening happened. Like it wasn't like one big magical thing that happened, but I was like, maybe there's something here. And then by the time I got done with all of, so that was like in June, and then July, August, September. So I was going to physio and all of that. So I think I started physio in August because they had to have, you had to wait for the surgery to kind of be at a certain stage before you could start doing anything. Started going into the pool, and I had these like aqua aerobic things. And I was trying to kind of get my elbow to kind of go like to release out because it was so stuck. It was so stuck from being in the
Being
sling.
in the same position for so
And
long.
the physio was trying, like, the physio would push my arm down at physio thing, trying to get it to go down. It hurt so much. It was so painful. So I went through like all of this, like with the physio, trying to do this, trying to kind of lift my arm up in the air and all this kind of stuff happening. And in the middle of September, I went in after doing my own physio because I was doing this thing with these, I kept saying, I'm bringing these guys in. And then I also kept doing the stuff in the water and I kept doing all my things. And I went into the I went into the physio and I said, "Look what I can do." And I put my arm back like this. And they're like, "Holy cow. We never thought you could ever do anything like that." And at the same time they were telling me that with my wrist I had shattered the crystals and that I would never have motion in it again. I'd probably never be able to sculpt. And I wasn't going to let that happen. I wasn't going to be like, I can't sculpt. I just got my art back. I just got my life back. I'm not going to not be able to sculpt. And I remember the first like few tiles. I did 4 tiles of my there's one behind us that's on the wall there, but I had 4 of them that I had done and I did them while I was going through this physio when they told me I could never do anything again. And I was like determined and I was having these visions of these scenes and I was like trying to like do them. And so I was trying to depict them and get them onto the clay. And so the first 4 of my tiles that I had been creating at the time were part of my awakening, and it was part of my like helping others by them like finding them and like having them. I guess they had codes or whatever in them. And I did that while my arm was broke, while my hand and my arm was still broken. Like this one was still unhinged, and I'm like rolling out clay, and I'm like doing things I shouldn't be doing.
So this story is a wonderful story to let people know, and just please understand that just because somebody says you can't do something, that doesn't mean that it's not the truth. It
No.
means that if you can kind of bring yourself to that belief that you have the ability to do this, it
Mhm.
will happen.
Yeah.
You're living
And it might
proof.
not be the same as before. Like I said, when I was trying to do that, I was really in a lot of pain when I was doing it. I had to take a lot of breaks, and but when I walked there and I did that and I did this and I said, "Look what I can do again." And he was just kind of like, I think you've well surpassed what we ever thought you could do. You don't need to come back anymore. And then at the same time, I still had nerve damage from the surgery. So I was having this like, have you ever had nerve damage?
Yes.
It's like coming down here and it would go into my hand, like right into here, into it
It's
drove,
not pain, but it's not pain.
oh my
It's
God.
something that's so uncomfortable that you just can't figure it out.
Oh my God. It drove me absolutely like 100%. It's like sciatica going like all the time. It just was like awful. And that was the only thing I just couldn't seem to shift in the physio or anything like that. And so the physio guy said, well, I have a feeling like in the next few months that if you just keep doing this, the nerve damage will subside and all this kind of stuff. And but it wasn't really subsiding. It kept kind of doing that. So that would be like the middle of September. And then that was the year that President Trump became president the first year, 2000, was it 16?
16, I think.
Yeah. And I I decided I was going to go to acupuncture to see if I could fix this whole thing, like this whole like nerve damage thing, because that was the only thing that was left. Now I was still stuck a lot. Like and even to this day, like that was in 2016 and it's what, 2026 now? Is that 10
Mm-hmm.
years?
It's 10 years now.
Yeah. And I sometimes when I'm doing like aqua aerobics or whatever, and this arm gets like, especially in my elbow, gets very kind of like I can feel it kind of sticking, like so it's still doing that, but I mean it's not as bad as it
But look at
was.
how far you've come. Look at all that you've done in the past 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean
So
like
this
and
really
also I
tells
rebroke
you.
it again. I did end up rebroking in a different spot up on my humerus in 2023 when I was cleaning out my freezer when I had another time when I wasn't listening. But that time they told me that I had learned all the stuff that I'm going to tell you now that happened. Um, and that I had all these tools. And so that time, before I even had physio for that broken arm, I had already healed. I had already brought it back. It was fine. I didn't even need the physio. I went to the one appointment the second time, and the lady was like, I think you're good, but I think maybe I'll have another appointment just to check on you, kind of thing. But yeah. So what happened then? Oh, okay. So I decided I'm going to go to acupuncture. So I had like I did like about 5 visits altogether, maybe 4 or 5 visits. So I kept going, and the lady was helping me. And she also found out that I was damp. I don't know if you understand that, but like we live in damp country here in Ireland. It's very damp here. Plus I'm living in a basement and it's very damp. And so like this is the reason why I probably have like sinus issues and like problems. But like if I were to sneeze, it smells like I can smell like this damp musty smell coming out of my nose when I sneeze. Or I
Mm.
know that sounds weird, but so she found out that I was damp as well. So she was treating she's treating me for this dampness as well, and trying to help me. But she was mainly we were working on this, and so she puts all the needles in, and then what we would do is she would put a TENS machine. Do you know what a TENS machine is?
Mm-hmm.
She would hook a TENS machine to the needle in the area where the nerve damage felt the worst. Because like it was going
Mm.
down my arm, and it was different days. It was in different places where it was the worst. And then she would have me lay on the bed for, I don't know, half an hour or something like that. I don't know how long she had me there. If anybody's ever gone to acupuncture, you would know that you kind of like they walk away and they play music and you just kind of sit there
You
and
lay there for
then
30 minutes.
she comes back and takes the needles out kind of thing and then tells you to drink lots of water and you know the drill. So this happened, I think, three, maybe 4 times. And then it was the night. It was getting better, but it wasn't gone. And it was the it was like the day or the day after Trump became president. And I remember going in there and she says to me, she's hooking me all up and everything. Where does it hurt the most? Gets a 10 machine on and all that. And then she says to me, she goes, you need to go to your happy place. She goes, stop worrying about Trump and like all of the like what's going to happen, because I didn't know, like I didn't feel like any of the decision was good, like whether it was her, was it Hillary Clinton before that, or I don't know who
I
was the
don't
first,
remember.
whoever it was that she was going against. I didn't think either one was like really good for the country. I didn't think there was a good answer, but I really didn't know what was going to happen. And I was just kind of like worried for my family and worried for my friends that lived in the States or whatever. And I remember her saying, you don't need to worry, Robin. He has a golf course in Ireland. He likes Ireland. Everything will be fine. I was just and she goes, just don't worry. And I was like, but my friends and my family and all this kind of thing. And then she says, I need you to go to your happy place and just forget about Trump and whatever is going to happen in the future with anything like that. And because you can't control like outside forces and what out, like what you can't control like governments and what's going to happen or whatever like that. All you can control is your own little world inside of you. So she tells me, she goes, go to your happy place. So I'm there and I'm like, where's my happy place? And I'm thinking about when I was a child and I loved going up to the lake, up to our camp. And I loved sitting by the water in this one spot. And so I put myself in there, right? And I saw like at first it was like I thought it was birds, two like black dots or whatever. You know how like when we were doing the astral travel class
Mm-hmm.
and you were saying to focus on the dot?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this happened and they were like this black dot. Does that make sense to you? It probably does. Because what I'm going to
It's
tell you after, you're going to be
Yeah,
like, yeah.
because what she's talking about is in a class that I teach, we focus on a dot on the wall and bring it to a point where you can create a tunnel that you can walk through with it. So that's the dot that she's talking about.
Okay, so this dot showed up, right? And I thought it was like birds, but it couldn't. It was like far away, and there was like this black dot, and it was kind of. And then something happened that had never happened to me ever before. All of a sudden, these beings, there was three on one side of the bed and three on the other side. They were hovering over me. They were very, very tall. They had like very, very long arms on them and they were radiating out this green like energy and they were like so loving and they were like so like oh my god, like to describe it, to this day I can still remember them coming over my bed. and and I don't think I've ever really had this kind of experience other than because this felt like it wasn't an astral travel. It was like they were right there over me.
Mhm.
It wasn't like I was going to another world
They came to you.
and seeing it. So like it was there. I think it was part of my awakening, and I had to have this happen to me. So they were kind of like hovering over me, and they were looking down at me, and then they were telepathically like the love that was coming from them was like nothing I have ever experienced on this my lifetime, and it was just kind of like the love that was emanating. I just can't even like put words to it. And they were like, would you like us to assist today in your healing? And I was like, by all means, I'm on the bed and I got the TENS machine and the needles in. You might as well do whatever you can do. And they said, go for it. Like, I kind of like was like, go for it. You have my permission to do whatever you need to do. and they started kind of like all I can describe is they had their hands so they're up in the air over me. And so I'm in a different position here, but like it was kind of like they were kind of hovering over my body on the bed. And they were doing this with this like green and I called it energy balls at the time. Um like green balls of light and they were like massaging my auric field. I don't know what they were doing, but they were like doing this and they kept like doing this. And as the whole thing went on, it just kind of got the green. They started, I couldn't see them as much. Like it started being like the green energy, the light was kind of taking over the whole thing, even them. Like it was getting so strong that I wasn't able to kind of see their figures anymore. I was just seeing this green and this energy. And I knew like at some point that it was going to be like they were going to leave because like I wasn't going to be on that bed forever and I knew the lady was going to come back and so I kind of was like getting a little bit nervous like that they were going to leave me and I remember saying please don't leave me, please don't leave me. And then they said, I heard them say to me, we have always been with you, we are a part of you, and we will never leave you. We came here to show you that we're here. And basically that they were never going to leave me. Like they were, and I was like, oh, thank
Excellent.
God you're not going to leave. I don't know who you are. Are you the Andromedans? Are you Arcturians? I don't know who you are, but all I know is that you are here and you're going to stay. And so then that kind of left. And I remember afterwards, every time I would close my eyes for like months, all I could see was that green energy, and I knew that they were here. I could feel that whole feeling that I felt, like the whole, like, you're okay, we've got you, like you're held, that you're good, everything's okay. And I remember coming out of that and then sitting down and telling the lady what happened. She goes, "You're not the first person to tell me something like this."
Well, it's good that somebody believed you.
Yes.
And you
And
had
so,
that on your side so you could believe in yourself now
mhm.
too.
Although I did make a depiction of it, I have well, I show it to you, a tile that I made, and Tim will he said, you gotta hide that now. You don't want anybody to see that because they're gonna think you've gone mentally crazy. Do you want to see it?
Yeah, let's see it.
Okay, let me see if I can get it. It's not hanging up on the wall in the hallway where no one can see it. So here is my depiction. I did this afterwards because I couldn't get it out of my mind. And I got that book, We Are the Arcturians, to see if they were the Arcturians, and they weren't the Arcturians. But this is kind of what they looked like. Tall beings. There were six of them, one on each side, and they had that, like, the green energy
Okay.
ball. And I was on the acupuncture table.
Very beautiful.
Obviously, I didn't have the blanket on me, but in the picture I did. I
Very
didn't.
nice.
So that was that. And then I went back for another treatment after that, a couple weeks later. She's putting the needles in, and then she's trying to figure out where to put the TENS machine. She's like, "Where is it the worst this week?" And I'm like, "You know what? It's not actually there. I don't have any nerve damage." There was no nerve damage. It was like 2 weeks after that. I realized I had no nerve damage. And to this day, I still have not gotten any nerve damage in that spot.
You created a world where you have healed yourself. That's an
Hmm.
amazing story.
And I think that, so at the time, for years now, for a while, I thought that they did that for me. Like the beings
Hmm.
did that for me. But now I realize that I had to have that awakening. I had to have that moment where I remembered them. It was almost like I had planned, they had been with me my whole life. I had planned, they're part of my higher self.
Hmm.
They're part of me, and they're part of, like, reminding me. And I maybe that was all planned before I was born, that they would come in and they would show me this to remind me how to use energy, how to use the light, because that was the beginning of me starting to kind of, like, use light infusion. It was the beginning stage of it. Now, I thought that they were doing it for me, but
It's
at the
all on
same
you.
time, yeah.
It's all you because we create the world that we live in. We create our healing. We create what we see. So you created a world where you healed yourself.
And
They
I was
came
like,
in
"Oh
to
my God,
show
we
it to
actually have
you.
these beings." Like, and that happened, like, but at the same stage, like, I still went on, and that was in 2015.
So this has been Robin Nicole, and we've really gotten into a lot of information for her and where she's been and how she's worked. But there's more. So why don't you join us for session 2 with Robin Nicole and we'll move forward.
Yes, and I'll tell you the experience that I had with the Lemurians and the inner earth beings and all of that with the crystals.